inside the vehicle that police are following, wanted for a shooting.
Yeah, they're going to take this very seriously because they do believe that this could be a shooting suspect inside the car. It's been a harrowing pursuit from what we understand, going through several parking lots. And in fact, there was another person that did jump out of the car and take off. We don't know if that person was arrested, and there that person goes, the driver goes through that a red light. In the meantime, we also got word that the driver through the passenger window threw out items from the car. The outlet going on in South L.A. In the meantime, this is what we've been seeing, him just meandering through the streets of South L.A.
Right. And you're looking at, again, live pictures from Air 7. At one point, there were 7 patrol cars following this vehicle. And we do know that one person bailed. You might have said this, David. One person bailed out of the vehicle. We're not sure how many people are still remaining in that vehicle, but as David mentioned, they did at one point throw some items out of the window, the passenger side window, and now you see the car driving into another parking lot.
That was interesting. He went the wrong way through a drive-through window. Luckily, nobody was in that lane. He squeezed through. Now he's back onto the streets. But from the descriptions of this pursuit, this has been the personality of the driver, going through various parking lots, finding little ways to try to get out from being pursued. But obviously the police are staying right behind him as he continues now on West Rosecrans Avenue, passing Lamole Avenue. This is in Minetta Gardens.
And we are still efforting getting more information about the shooting that the suspect is believed to have been involved in. We're trying to gather those details. But again, the suspect, we believe the driver, is wanted for a shooting somewhere in Los Angeles.
They call this a dark blue Ford Fusion. It's a dark color Ford Fusion, at least. And that's the vehicle that they are pursuing. We don't know. You can see the tinted windows. We don't know how many people are inside the car. As Javon and I both said, one person has jumped out of the vehicle. It doesn't mean that there's just one left. There could be several people within that car. And the better look there, the tinted windows are very difficult to see inside that car.
At this point, we can say at least he's driving at relatively moderate speeds. You can see traffic on the other side. Oncoming traffic is stopping, probably due to traffic lights, but you can see he's not speeding through the area and winding through traffic.
Yeah, let's take a look at what he does here. He's going the wrong way down in towards this intersection. Clearly, he is running the red light, and luckily, folks were able to see him. He wasn't moving really fast, so that makes it a little bit safer. There he is, again, making a very dangerous turn into another parking lot. It seems to be where he wants to go, and thinking that he can get away from the police. And very tight turns right here as he continues to get through some of these lanes back onto the street here at West Rosecrans Avenue and Prairie Avenue, near Bodger Park.
And we have law enforcement expert Bruce Thomas on the phone with us, joining us just now for this police pursuit that's been underway now for almost an hour. Bruce, any thoughts on this? We believe that the suspect wanted was involved in a shooting of some sort. Does that elevate this pursuit?
Very much so, Giovanna, and afternoon, David, also. Yeah, we have a pursuit of a shooting suspect, which means we're looking for a felony suspect, which means the pursuit will not be canceled unless it becomes so inherently dangerous to the public. But they definitely want to take this person into custody. However, now you have a weapon involved, so that does create some tactical problems at the terminus of the pursuit.
So, Bruce, we've been seeing him go through these streets in South Los Angeles. He's largely going closer to the speed limit, but what I noticed is some of these streets are wide open. Is that a point where they could potentially do a pit maneuver, or are they just going to carefully follow him?
Yeah, David, I know you've been to some of the sheriff's training with EVOC. That's ideally what you want, a nice wide street with very minimal pedestrian and vehicular traffic so that you can pit the vehicle, spin it out, and it may cross 1 or 2 lanes without hindering or endangering anybody else.
Yeah, these are pretty narrow streets that he's going down. We did, by the way, see him just a minute ago with his window down as he took that turn to the left before this right. It wasn't enough for us to get a good look at him or if there's anybody else in this vehicle. But obviously, these are those situations, Bruce, where they're going to act like there are going to be multiple threats inside that vehicle.
That's correct. And you also have 2 passengers driver and a passenger. One is supposedly armed. So that creates another issue for law enforcement because they're going to have to get the driver out, then get the passenger out.
We understand that someone in that car bailed at some point a few minutes after the pursuit began. Assuming law enforcement has tried to reach that person, do we have any information on that and what the protocol would be?
Yeah, if law enforcement was in the pursuit and the person did jump out or bail out, they would definitely stop and want to scoop this person up to gain information, to gain knowledge of the person driving, why they're driving, are they armed, was there a shooting, so that they can have as much tactical information as they can get.
And aside from a pit maneuver or a spike strip, what other strategies might law enforcement be considering at this point?
You know, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Those are the two primary things that law enforcement do. We don't tactically box them in or try to create blockades or barricades so that they can't continue the pursuit. So you basically have a spike strip and a pit maneuver.
All right, we just saw him go the wrong way down a street for about 100 feet or so, and then he pulled off of that. Does that change anything when it comes to their pursuit of this and how they pursue him, knowing that he's willing to go down the wrong way in a street?
Well, it makes it inherently dangerous for the officers in the pursuit. You know, one of the things in a pursuit that you take into account is the safety, not only the safety of the suspect, but the safety of the officers and the safety of the general public. So by him going the wrong way down the street, that just creates other problems.
What about a spike strip? If they're trying to get a spike strip on this guy, what needs to happen for that to be successful?
You know, David, you know, it's kind of a game of cat and mouse with a spike strip. Ideally, you would like to see some sort of pattern, maybe going down the same streets over and over again within a kind of a narrow time frame, or the fact that if you can deploy it at a safe speed, that's what you're looking for.
Right. Okay, so here he is. He's going down West 135th Street. Well, now he's really accelerating. He was going about 30 miles an hour. He accelerated up to about 60. He's going the wrong way. Luckily, the oncoming car was paying attention. He got out of the way. Now he's turned left on Van Ness Avenue and West 134th. Now he's on Van Ness. He's traveling down there about 35 miles an hour. It looks pretty wide open. I don't see a lot of cars around, but to pull off, let's say, even a pit maneuver, they need a wide swath of space, don't they? They can't, you know, just because we don't see it in the frame doesn't mean it's a safe place to do it.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, you have to get right up on this vehicle onto the rear quarter panels, either the driver's side or passenger side, punch the acceleration of your vehicle into their vehicle. You're basically creating a controlled accident, spinning the vehicle out where it loses traction, and then you'll kind of box them in some shape or form.
All right, it almost looks like here, the vehicle right behind him started thinking about a pit maneuver. He started accelerating, coming over to the back corner of the car, but then he pulled off because it is a very narrow street, and maybe he saw something oncoming. But it did look like that the police vehicle behind him was thinking at least about a pit maneuver.
Yeah, David, it definitely seemed like that was in their thought process. You know, they may have requested a pit maneuver from the watch commander who's overall in charge of the pursuit or a supervisor that's in the pursuit. And at that time, they may have been given permission, but it just didn't work out.
Right. Okay.
I wonder about this vehicle that they're pursuing. What information might they already have? How did they know that this suspect was in this vehicle? Perhaps does he own it? And does that help provide some clues for law enforcement to tackle this in other ways?
Yeah, to your point, it may have been through a radio broadcast of a unit that got on scene. Hey, we're looking for a Ford Fusion that was just involved in a shooting. We don't have a license plate. We have a color, last seen direction. So based on that broadcast, then they pick this vehicle up. Some of the information they'll gain from the vehicle is they have a license plate. Hopefully it comes back to that vehicle. Maybe they can find out who the registered owner is according to the license plate. Go to that residence, try to find out more information on that person. Are they a wanted criminal? Have they been arrested before, and for what crimes?
We're showing folks some video on the right-hand side. That's him accelerating through these parking lots. He seems to like that a lot, and it could be very dangerous with these parking lots. There's so many people, and they are not necessarily paying attention to a rapidly paced vehicle going through the parking lot. And then we've seen him multiple times going the wrong way. That's what you see here. Here he is going about 100 feet or so down the wrong way on a street. Luckily, the cars are paying attention and getting out of the way. Then he runs a red light in this intersection. Everybody's still, again, paying attention, thankfully. So far, so good when it comes to the other drivers being alert. But this guy was, again, another dangerous maneuver into a parking lot, and then eventually came out of that. So this pursuit, that seems to be his personality. He goes slow, then quickly, and he seems to love those parking lots, Bruce.
Yeah, by going through a parking lot like that, you're hoping to, for lack of a better word, ditch the police that are following you, because people are backing out, going the wrong way, they're narrow, different things are happening, so maybe the police can't follow them. It's just another tactic that the bad guys have thought, well, maybe I can try this.
Right.
And for motorists on the road who find themselves in the middle of a pursuit, what is your best advice to them?
Don't get involved. We've seen numerous pursuits where people stop, throw things at the suspect, try to block the suspect in. Let law enforcement do their job. If you're involved in a pursuit and it's coming toward you, pull safely to the right of the road. If you can't do that, stop your vehicle. It will go around you. But we implore people not to get involved.
Right, and we actually started seeing some signs of the community coming out to see him. You saw that, Giovanna, when there were a lot of guys were on the curb of the road. So there have been pockets of people who already know that this is underway and that it is going by their home. But so far, not a whole lot of people, just here and there. As he continues down West El Segundo Boulevard, approaching Raymond Avenue, he is in Inglewood now. Middle left-hand turn lane. Let's see what he does here. If he goes through this, I think that is a green light. But oncoming traffic, there's a person pushing his motorcycle. That was close. Now he's back on a very narrow South Budlong Avenue as police are right behind him. There's a turnabout there that he just went by. And as you'll notice, we're more in a residential area, Bruce, which could pose other problems.
And Bruce, there is I'm sorry to cut you off, Bruce. There really is no urgency. I mean, they of course want him to stop and they want to prevent this dangerous driving, but he's going at relatively slow speeds. So are they thinking we'll just continue to follow him until there is an opportunity for a spike strip?
Yeah, great thought process on that, because like you say, there's no urgency to do something to cause him to speed up and go over 100 miles an hour on a residential street. We're going to stay behind him. We're going to follow him. You cannot outrun the helicopter. So, at this point, we know they're driving in front of us, and we're going to stay in the pursuit.
All right, here he is, going left, West 120th Street at South Budlong Avenue. So he's traveling down West 120th Street now in Inglewood.
Staying in the South LA area, which is interesting and sometimes indicates that they're very familiar with that neighborhood.
The problem is, though, as Bruce was saying, we'd love to see him go in a pattern so they could maybe predict a spike strip, but I haven't really seen a pattern, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has gone on the same street more than once. I mean, like he said, he's kind of hanging in the South Central area there in Inglewood, on Western, 120th Street, that area. But for the most part, he is not showing any kind of pattern which law enforcement could use for the spike strip.
Here he is approaching the LAPD vehicle right behind him. Seemed to be closing in, and now he's backing off again. I feel like they kind of test it out a little, Bruce, and then they back out, and they test it out, and they back out, and I guess that's part of the process.
It can be. I mean, they're getting right upon the pursued vehicle to see what the driver does. Maybe a little bit of pressure, he backs off and
oncoming,
decides to maybe pull over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very close collision right there. The car passed him by about a foot. He went out there with running a red light, but luckily the collision was avoided. So he is now Southwestern Avenue.
Yes, and we are seeing several more patrol cars following this suspect's vehicle now. I don't know if Air 7 can pull out, but there were, I think I counted 5 or 6. Does that mean or suggest any change in strategy, Bruce? And also, what is the conversation like among the officers who are following?
Well, when you talk about the number of patrol vehicles, you have a primary, a secondary, and then you have a supervisor vehicle. Also, with the additional vehicles, that's for support. At the terminus or end of the pursuit, since you have multiple suspects, teams of arresting officer teams will then have to take one into custody, then the second one into custody, and then they still have to clear the car. So you need a labor or manpower pool in this case.
All right, and the vehicle continues on West El Segundo Boulevard, nearing Wilton Place, still in the Inglewood area, and still driving at relatively moderate speeds.
Well, he's going about 50 miles an hour. I'm sure that's over the speed limit, but it's not as bad as we've seen in other pursuits. So he's not out of control when it comes to speed, but he's definitely out of control when it comes to, like this, going the wrong way down certain lanes, turning on tight corners and running red lights. So there is danger there. It's just speed is a lesser of a factor in this one, at least at this moment.
Yeah, the other thing, too, which happens is they re-rack all the video footage from the news stations in this case. And they go back and they put a whole list of charges against the suspect. Running the red light, driving on the wrong side of the road, speed, all those things. Yes, they're traffic infractions, they're misdemeanors, some of them, but, you know, they want to do something for the suspect to deter people from doing this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, but this is a felony suspect, so his timing, you know, the sentence that he might face, we believe would be more severe than someone who is not a felony suspect.
Correct. When you look at a felony charge, you're looking at state prison, punishable. You know, then you have a misdemeanor charge if it's knocked down to that, and we have seen that. But we always arrest for the higher charge. In this case, the felony, shooting at a inhabited dwelling, shooting assault suspects. All those charges are felonies. Correct.
All right, he's heading about 35 miles an hour down Daphne Avenue near West 139th Street in Inglewood, a tight little street there. It looks like another neighborhood street where there are houses up along both sides of it. So there are those posed dangers of people potentially walking on the street and stuff like that. You can see the LAPD close behind him. I don't know, Bruce. I haven't seen any specific patterns yet. I don't know if he's just driving until he can figure something out or if he's got a plan here.
Yeah, in this case, David, I have not seen a pattern, and we've been watching now for 15, 20 minutes. He just seems to be going round and round in parking lots, like you said earlier, and out of parking lots, whether he's looking for somebody's house that he can stop, you know, a friendly type thing, but there's definitely been no pattern.
Yeah.
And just to recap, this pursuit started in the 3 o'clock hour. Several law enforcement patrol cars chasing this shooting suspect in this Ford Fusion. He's been primarily staying in the South LA area, and you can see some folks there on the sidewalk acknowledging, maybe, were they waving to the vehicle, David?
They were waving at him. All of their phones were up, and they're taking video and waving at him. And now he's approaching what we think is a dead end, but he's going down what appears to be an alley. But that's what we were talking about earlier, these pockets of people who are watching this pursuit, and then they run out there. He has stopped. I think he is at a dead end. The doors are quickly open, and they're giving him instructions. You see they're right on him. I don't see a lot of cooperation. The door is partially open. I don't know if there's communication going on or if he is just sitting there trying to figure out what he's going to do. Obviously, Bruce, very tense situation right now, knowing that this could be an armed suspect.
Yeah, very much so. You know, you do have an armed suspect in the vehicle. It looked like, some of the footage looked like it was a single person in that vehicle, but you don't know until you actually clear the vehicle who or what is in that vehicle. But you have an armed suspect. So in this case, everything is up on them, sort of.
Right.
Yeah. At this point, the driver appears to be wanting to cooperate. He is stepping out of the vehicle, or is about to, with his both hands up and visible for law enforcement.
Yeah, his hands are largely out. He is looking directly at them. He is communicating with them, but he's not necessarily doing exactly what they're telling him, but he is, at least he's standing.
He just dropped something.
Yeah, it looks like there is some communication. It is, I can't see what he dropped because he's basically standing right at it. It's at his feet in front of him, so he's obstructing our view. The good news is he is standing up with his hands up. Hopefully that is not a gun on the ground. And if it is, it poses some complications for, I imagine, police officers, but something has fallen. It's something dark that has fallen at his feet right in front of him as his back is to the officers. What do you do in that situation? Oh, well, let me continue to walk you through, Bruce. He is stepping away from that dark object. He is cooperating. He's stepping largely away from the vehicle. And we're obstructed a little bit by a wall, Bruce, but it looks like he's cooperating.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We're giving him verbal commands: step out of the vehicle, keep your hands up, maybe walk back to us or step away from the vehicle, get on your knees, put your hands out of your sides. They'll tactically move in and handcuff him. And then if there's a second person, they'll do the exact same thing, a mirror image of what they just did.
Right, that's a good point. He is now flat on the ground. His hands are out. He's on his stomach. His head is turned away from officers. I guess now they're going to check the vehicle as they are slowly approaching it in a sort of a stack and starting to look inside the vehicle. As I said before, it is a tinted vehicle. It's tough to see inside the windows, but they are right on top of it now. And you can see they're slowly searching the back seat, moving up to the passenger side. They're looking inside the vehicle. It seems to be clear. They haven't given the clear sign yet, but by their physicality, it doesn't look like there's a threat inside the vehicle, but they may want to open it up here and take a closer look, which I think they're going to do. In the meantime, the suspect is on his stomach, looking away from the officers about 8 feet from the vehicle right now, and he is cooperating. And you could see somebody down on the ground is barking orders to the officers on how to handle this. I don't see anything specific happening right now, but they haven't opened up the doors to the vehicle or the trunk right now. They are still handling the situation very carefully. They're approaching the suspect. Eyes are on the suspect. Now officers are on the suspect, about to handcuff him. So that part of the threat seems to be taken care of. And they've moved largely away from the car, but they haven't opened the doors, Bruce.
Yeah, based on the posture you're seeing, it appears that there is just one suspect, and they're going to form an arrest team that will move in on him, take him into custody. And this is ultimately what we want. No one gets hurt or injured, and the bad guy or bad guys end up going to jail.
Yeah, and now he is detained, and they are walking him to a police vehicle now. So thankfully, this has ended with no one on the road being hurt or injured.
Yeah. Bruce, thank you so much for helping us out on this one. I'm glad it's over, and nobody seems to have been hurt in this one. The vehicle is now clear as well. All right. Thanks for staying with us on that pursuit. It is now over.
Moving on to other news this afternoon, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg was on the stand facing a jury